Okay, January 19th, Genesis. Out of the floor seats, there's 400 total with 291 sold, 72.8%. And general admission likely 25 to 3,500 seats with the current setup. And then January 23, Impact Live, San Antonio, Texas. 158 sold out of 899 total for 17.6% sold. So Impact Live, not looking good so far. They're going to have to get out there and promote. And I'm going to tell them this, and I told them this last time, although they didn't listen to me and it ended up working out. So, like, for whatever reason, by the time they get there, something's going to happen to get people in there. That's the way that it's been going with this company. But I'm just going to implore them now. San Antonio is a huge military town. Okay. They had a big military discount last time. I think they should do that again. But they got to get Steve Macklin out front and center. They got to get Steve Macklin out there for the San Antonio show, these San Antonio shows. Get him on. There's Army base and there's like 3 Air Force bases. Get him out there at the BXs and at the events, signing autographs, doing all that stuff, doing tours, talking about his military heritage, getting people to come to the show, right? Handing out tickets. They could fill the place up if they embrace the military culture that's in San Antonio. I lived there for a year. That place is military friendly as you've ever seen in your life. So one of the most military towns of all military towns. That one's probably the biggest. Okay, they really got it. They really got to get that going. But that's what it's looking like for the events coming up in Texas. As of right now, there's no events scheduled in February. I'm sure we'll find out what those are here pretty soon. Okay. So let's get to the TNA Impact reaction portion. Hold on. I really should have been prepared and got this got this lined up, but I just got so carried away with the other topics. And I'm actually there we go. So it was so funny on MLW. MLW went head to head with TNA this week, and they had Eric Bischoff on. This was pretty funny, actually. I was like kind of applauding them for this. They had Eric Bischoff on, and then Eric Bischoff was making a joke, and then he actually said, "Look, if I were controversial like I used to be, then I would tell you that the Hardys are in the main event of Impact tonight, and they won their match." Because when he used to do that, when he was the lead announcer for Nitro, he would go on, and when WWE Raw was taped, he would give away the results for Raw live on the air. So like a total dick move, and he did that to TNA, but in kind of a funny and a cute way. And it just so happened, like, he didn't know this, that the Hardys ended up not main eventing. They were on earlier in the show, and the match had already aired on television. But I did think that was pretty funny and pretty cute. Like, so kudos to MLW for that, and kudos to Eric Bischoff, whom I really am not a fan of, but I think he's a really good performer on television. He's always has been. So if MLW keeps him around, like, their show could actually be pretty interesting. I might end up watching that show at some point. So yeah, Impact reaction. Let's get to it. We have an X Division showcase, as Tom Hannafin would say. Kushida defeats Trent Seven, Ace Austin, Leon Slater, and JDC to become the new TNA X Division Championship #1 contender. So he's scheduled to lose to Moose at Final Resolution. Ain't no way in hell Moose is losing that belt to old Kushida, but I love Kushida. I honestly thought that they would go with Ace Austin here as kind of a feel-good story, but I don't think they want to take the belt off of Moose. So I know I've been saying for a while that the move is to get Moose to lose to Leon Slater, like later in the year, like have him be a dominant champion. But if they did it with Ace Austin, I would be okay with that too. Ace Austin's been the X Division champ multiple times before, but I do think that we need to do something with Ace. You know, Ace should be in there with, like, Moose is like a former world champion. I think having Ace Austin kind of back in that, you know, big time title picture would be really good. Because he went to ABC and he's had some really big matches with ABC, but now that he's back to being a single, because it doesn't look like Chris Bay is that injury to Chris Bay, Dave Meltzer said in the newsletter that nobody knows exactly what it is, but they said he's hearing it. It's one of the worst in wrestling history. And it's like, man, that's not good. So it looks like that Ace Austin's going to be a singles competitor going forward. And it's like, well, maybe this is an opportunity to get behind Ace eventually. So, but I thought this was a good match. These X Division like matches are always pretty good. Lots of like dives and all that stuff and kickouts, and I thought everybody played their parts pretty well. Let's go to the end here. Slater follows that up with an absolutely insane twisting splash off the top rope onto a pile of bodies on the floor. The crowd goes wild and breaks out the TNA chant. Slater heads to the top rope again, but JDC rams Seven into the corner and crotch him. Austin hits a superplex to Slater off of JDC, and Seven's backs in the corner for a close pin attempt, which Seven breaks up. Fans react with an enthusiastic, "This is an awesome chant." Seven goes for the 7-star lariat, but walks into a Pele kick from Kushida. Moments later, Kushida hits the Back to the Future for the pinfall victory with the win. Kushida moves on to challenge Moose for the TNA X Division Championship at TNA Final Resolution. So I get the feeling that's how we're going to be creating contenders from now on. It's like multiple person matches and things like that. And like, that's how we're going to figure out Moose's contenders. I'd like for Moose to have a real feud with the X Division title. Earmark somebody now that they want to crown and continue a storyline, because we did Laredo Kid at Turning Point, and now we're doing Kushida. Nobody thinks out of those guys have a chance. I'd like to see them have a real feud. These are just throwaway title defenses. So hopefully for Genesis, we actually get like a feud. I would like to see Moose versus Ace Austin at Genesis in like a prime spot. I'm not saying Ace has to win, and Moose probably keep the title, but build that match up into like a feud. I think that's where you go with Genesis. And then later in the year, you do Leon Slater versus Moose, and then that's where maybe at the Galen Center you can crown him at Rebellion. All right. So Gia Miller then interviews Tasha Steelz, asks her about her match tonight against Jordan Grace. She mentions that she too is a former Knockouts champion and calls her Juggernaut a thorn in her side. I think Jordan Grace pinned her like 3 times during the Queen of the Mountain match when Tasha Steelz was champion. I was like, man, she must have heat. Like, they don't like her. She got pinned 3 times in the same match and got put in the penalty box and ended up losing. Next, we go to the Good Hands. Jason Crotch and John Schuyler make their way to the ring, cutting a heel promo. Pretty boring stuff, to be honest with you. And then PCO comes out and he's with Sami Callihan. They have their match. The match was okay. Callahan looks rough, man. So they did the match though. the match was fine. The big story of the match is afterwards a cryptic video plays. What was that? Asked Tom Hannafin. I don't know. And Ray Will replied, and they didn't really know. But a cryptic video plays, and the number 23 is on the screen. Number 23 is on the screen. And people are saying, people are trying to speculate who this could be. Obviously, the live Impact show is on January 23rd. So I think that's when we get the big reveal. That would make sense. People are throwing out the names Miro. People are throwing out the names Pentagon. You could probably put other names in that spot. But I was talking with Dobby the Brain Heenan, and both he and I agree that this is very likely just Sami Callihan. like Sami Callihan is just going to turn on PCO. He's 23. Because the whole thing with it had the hacker stuff and all the cryptic things, that's just the Sami Callihan thing to do. And Sami has not done anything in this company since he's been back. He has not been in any feuds. He's had some matches, but he hasn't really done anything of significance. Company has largely moved on from him as a television performer in the last year. He's now moving over to the live events department, and he's got his work cut out for him there, where those big swings are taken. But this very much just screams like Sami Callihan's turning on PCO. It could be crazy. It could be crazy, and then it could be Pentagon. It could be crazy. Could be Miro, or somebody else like that. Baron Corbin, which would be hilarious. I'm pretty sure it's just Sami. Billy says, how about Rich Swann aligned with Sammy returning? That too would be boring, but I think when Rich Swann comes back, he's probably going to go back to First Class. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me to see him in Final Resolution. Then other people are saying Mustafa Ali. I think Mustafa Ali is coming back. And I think he's probably coming back before that live show. And it wouldn't shock me if he came back at Final Resolution because he happens to be working the night before for the West Side Gun Show. He's on that card. So he's like in town. Now, I don't know if he's booked already for that Friday and Saturday. He could be, but he has never left the roster page. I think TNA hopes that they're going to bring him back. I think he really wanted to get a deal with AEW and it's never worked out. I could see them bringing him back though. Billy says TNA hype surprises are generally disappointing. Yeah, that's why I'm like leaning towards a major disappointment. It's just going to be Sammy. It's like, and nobody's going to care. Okay. Show returns to break. World champion Nick Nemeth talking about how it's been a big 2024 for him in TNA wrestling. As he continues talking, he's cut off by First Class and AJ Francis. And then eventually AJ Francis talks his way into getting a world title match at Final Resolution. Now, remember, everybody, AJ Francis's deal is up in December, so maybe this is his swan song. But I don't think there's a hope in hell he wins the title. If he does win the title, more people are going to make fun of the company. So, all right, Hardys defeat the System via disqualification to retain the World Tag Team Championships. I thought they were having a pretty good match here. Here's my problem with this: man, we've seen this match a lot now. We need to heat up another heel act, and they just had the Full Metal Mayhem match, and now we're gonna go to a tables match. It's like, man, I just feel like we already did it. We've done the match with the System a lot. They're always really good matches. Don't get me wrong. The crowd was really into it. I mean, it's the Hardy Boys in North Carolina. I thought the match was really good. They always have really good matches. I felt like Alicia played her part well and was a really good heel and, causing the DQ, and I'm fine with the DQ. It's no big deal. They're trying to get to the tables match, but it's like, how do you go from a Full Metal Mayhem match down to a tables match and make people care? The Hardys need fresh opponents. Rascals are around. They're baby faces, but the Rascals are around. What's up with Jake and Hammerstone? Hammerstone looked like he got hurt at Turning Point, but like, when are they going to heat those guys up? Right? They brought in Jake Christ and Alan Angels and formed that tag team. I don't think we've seen them on television yet. They might have been on Explosion. I know they were doing jobs though. We need to get a tag team heated up for the Hardy Boys. And we can't just keep going back to the System. Like, we need something else. So I don't know if there's tag teams out there available. Like Violence is Forever is a pretty good tag team, and they're going to be at the West Side Gun Show. So those guys are pretty good. There's teams out there. It's like, man, you got to bring in somebody or get somebody hot to build up to be challengers for the Hardy Boys. It's mind-boggling, but they're going to do the match. The match will be fun, I'm sure. But it's like, man, we kind of just did the Full Metal Mayhem, and now we're going down to a tables match. Okay. Backstage, Danny Luna calms Jody Threat down as she freaks out about Ash by Elegance. Luna says she's going to take out Heather by Elegance next week and tells Threat that she would do the same to Ash. They walk off. Yeah, tag team division, the women's tag team division is dog shit. Just absolute dog shit. Okay, Santino Marella announced, so he announces the table match next. And then we go to Tasha Steelz defeating Jordynne Grace. If that doesn't scream Jordynne Grace is leaving the company, I don't know what does. So I was hoping that they wouldn't do this to Jordynne. They did it to Deonna, right? Where they had Deonna losing a bunch on her way out. And I was hoping they wouldn't do it to Jordynne, but now she's losing to Tasha. It's like, oh man. And she's still got, a few, like three more events with the company, actually 4. So two in Atlanta, one in Dallas, and then the 5. So and then a final two events in San Antonio before she heads over to WWE, because like later that weekend is Royal Rumble. So she's just gonna keep losing. I don't know. I don't think that's cool, man. She's, at this point, she's a TNA legend and probably a future Hall of Famer. And to do her like that, I know they're trying to build up Tasha Steelz as a title contender, but even beating Jordan, nobody takes her seriously. So that was the problem. It's like once Jordan leaves, who do we got? Well, we got Masha. Who else? That's it. Kylan King's probably coming back, so that's good. Lei Ying Lee coming back. She wasn't at the Fayetteville tapings, but hopefully she'll be back in Atlanta. She just signed a deal. So that's really all you got, though. Hopefully they sign some more people. But the match was just okay. Tasha cheated, did the whole roll-up deal, and Alicia Edwards helped her out. So, of course, they double-teamed her afterwards, and then Masha made the save because we're doing the same storyline still with Masha and Jordan that Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry are doing. So, because we don't have any ideas in the company. Yeah, not really much to the show. Now we're already to the main event. Not much happened on this episode. The main event was a really long match. I really enjoyed it. It took a little bit to get going, but I did like the match. Joe Hendry on commentary. Joe Hendry did his level best to try to make everybody care about AJ Francis versus Nick Nemeth. But I thought this match was really good. I thought that Sinner and Saint, when they were in there with Jonathan Gresham, I thought was pretty fun. Of course, they did the whole, kind of slow in the beginning, and then they worked up to a crescendo. Then they hit the peak where everybody's hitting their biggest moves, and bunch of stuff happens. So we see all 8 men facing off with each other before fireworks explode. They collide for a big brawl. And then Macklin takes over after tagging in, but his run in the offensive driver's seat is short-lived as the walking weapon takes over for the hillside. Frankie Kazarian tags, and it picks up where he left off. King of TNA elicits another big brawl between all 8 guys. Show heads in a mid-match commercial break, and then the show returns. Fans are chanting, "Frankie sucks." And then he works over Eric Young, and then in the end, a shot with a trophy from Kazarian. He hits Jonathan Gresham, and then Josh Alexander pins Gresham, which I found to be interesting. He's still getting – Josh Alexander's getting more pins, but it was pinned over Jonathan Gresham, who's also probably leaving. But I thought that the match was well done, and a good way to end the show. Overall, a fun show. I thought the Fayetteville crowd was pretty good for the most part. I dug it. And really fun main event. But here, let's go. Oh, we got people in the chat here. Let's see. Billy says they are jobbing her. So talking about Grace, she's going to lose out. That's what they think. So Io says our remaining KOs could use some stock. That's for sure. We could use more in the stock. So good stuff there. Let's see. Yep. Fun match, liked it, well done. And then the production of the TV was good. Yeah, production was the greatest thing. Dre says, the biggest thing I haven't enjoyed about the rebrand is how much Fed involvement there is, from the partnership to the scrap heap bums. I miss Storm, Angelina Love. Those cats are still out there. Yeah, I would love to see James Storm specifically back in the company. I think that would be cool if James Storm ended up making a comeback. I saw him wrestle not that long ago, and he was still in really good shape and could still go. I know he's a bit older, but I think that he's kind of tied into the identity of TNA, and having him around would be a positive, I think. When people think TNA, like James Storm's like one of those names that people bring up. I do feel like they rely on former WWE talent too much. Earlier this week, I explicitly said, Bad Dude Tito, who has been working New Japan and MLW for a long time, came out on Twitter and said that he is a free agent. And I made the comment, and Ibu quote tweeted this, and it got some buzz. I think that they should go for a guy like Bad Dude Tito before signing any of these other WWE scrap heap guys. Bad Dude Tito is going to be more cost effective. He will sell you just about the same amount of tickets as a Baron Corbin would, or as a Jinder Mahal. Like those guys, they're more famous, but they're still not draws. No one's going to sign any. No one's going to sell any tickets to, no one's buying tickets because those guys are on the show. So Bad Dude Tito could be a world heavyweight champion in TNA. He's that good. He's a big guy. He is a Hispanic American. He, could be good in those markets, LA and El Paso specifically. He's from California. He's like so athletic, has great matches, lots of charisma. He very much looks like a Bill Watts, like approved stud. I don't know if he ever played football, but he looks like he's a football player. Yeah, Io says Dr. Death vibes with Tito. Yeah, like he very much is in the vein of the type of people that they should be bringing in, right? They do need some big stars. Like if Pentagon is available, I think you get him. Former TNA champion. He burst onto the scene in America on Lucha Underground and on TNA. I think that is an exception, right? Miro, I don't know about. It depends on the price. But if I had the opportunity to sign either Miro or Bad Dude Tito, I'm signing Bad Dude Tito because the upside is greater with Bad Dude Tito. And it's going to be more cost effective. You're not going to have to spend WWE prices on Bad Dude Tito at this point. You can get him early, get him to a longer deal, and then push him to the moon. I think that's a win. There's also guys out there like Kevin Blackwood and Titus Alexander that are pretty good. They need to be doing more stuff like that. Sign more unknown talent that are really good that you can brand, that become part of your brand identity. Because every time you bring in a former WWE talent and a former AEW talent, they will always be seen as former AEW, former WWE talent. People still call Nick Nemeth Dolph Ziggler because he was Dolph Ziggler for 20 years on WWE television. Okay. You can bring in Tom Pestock, Baron Corbin. People are always going to look at him as just like a failed WWE experiment, on your show that you're pushing, right? So I think that's the way that you go, and then that you help, rebuild your brand. That's how you do it. You don't continue to just get scrap heap guys. And that's how TNA did it for a long time. And then all of a sudden they tried to go too big, and then they lost their way, and they were bringing in, as much as I love Mick Foley, but they didn't need to bring in Mick Foley, Booker T, all these other cats. I think Rob Van Dam ended up being good for the company, but like they were bringing in all these guys off the WWE scrap heap and then putting them over there, guys. You're seeing it happen with AEW. AEW is pushing Shelton Benjamin like he's this major star, and he's like 50-year-old mid-carder from WWE who is essentially a glorified enhancement talent. And I love Shelton Benjamin. I think Shelton's great, but that's the perception of him, and you're bringing him to your show, and now you're pushing him as a top guy, and it makes your show look second rate and low rent, and the crowd reactions that they're getting are proving that, and their business going down is proving that. And that's just one example. There's so many other examples in that company of them doing the same mistakes that Dixie Carter made whenever she was trying to go big with TNA, bringing in all these WWE guys, pushing them, putting them over your homegrown talent, making your brand identity look second rate. So if they bring in a major star, yes, mid-card act, if they want to come in and be part of the lower card and rebrand themselves, re-identify themselves, and they want to work hard and do all that stuff, okay. But I would much rather have guys from the indies that aren't really been overexposed and don't have that WWE or even AEW stink on them at this point. There are exceptions to the rule, but yeah. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me this week on Brace for Impact. I greatly appreciate you being here. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you give a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show for the full episode. I greatly appreciate it. Patreon subscribers, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here live. Io, Billy, Dre, thank you for all your comments. I greatly appreciate it. This has been a fun episode. Lots to talk about. I'll be back next week with a double episode of Brace for Impact, because we got two shows to talk about, Final Resolution as well as Impact, and whatever news comes down the pike. So until next time, mahalo.